Welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on the world of cloud computing. Today, my guest is Eric Alterman. He is the founder and CEO of Flow. So, Eric, welcome to the show today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
You know, Eric, I've been reading through your slide deck, but I thought that might be a great place for us to start. So I've brought those up now. Why don't we start with that?
Sounds good. So on the first slide, Flow is a real-time data solutions. It's both a developer platform and an enterprise SaaS solution. It's also available for media companies to use for media management, real-time data and real-time content. And the solution is a very broad-based solution in terms of data processing. It helps developers, enterprise customers build real-time applications very quickly. All that back-end data processing that's required, messaging architectures, everything real-time becomes very easy with the Flow. It's about stream processing. How do I actually manage streams of information, process them, filter them, aggregate them, redact them, join them, all that hard stuff that normally requires an army of big data people to work out. Our platform does turnkey. Also, perhaps most importantly, information routing, at least for the enterprise. How does information come in from one channel or stream or source and then route individual pieces of content to who needs to see it, the right information going to the right people at real time? These are all solutions around our platform. Application interoperability is another big theme of ours. How do you make lots of different applications talk to each other all in real time? So you might have 100 different applications or 5 different applications. How do they actually communicate in real time? You can't have, in a very simple and elegant way, lots of applications all talking to each other's APIs. We act as kind of the communication bus to make that happen. And then in terms of real-time CMS, which is another thing we've listed here, is we have media companies that are using us. How do I manage lots of different information, content from lots of sources? How do I mix and match it, kind of like a mixing board for data or content in this case, and then present it anywhere I want, mobile, web devices, and so on. Enterprise collaboration is what I end with, but it's what we consider to be one of the more important benefits of the platform, and that is, what's next after collaborating in documents? It's awkward. We don't live in a document world. Emails, lots of emails now. Everyone has email overload. How do we do it in streams, in a contextual way, as opposed to with social technologies like you might find with Yammer, for example, and others, where it's social connectivity in the enterprise? How do you do it in a more contextual way? So that's kind of the overview in a nutshell. So there's a picture of me. My partner Tom, who is a co-founder and CTO. He's dressed better than me. He has a tie on, and he's smarter than me, so it's more fitting. Tom and I met a year after architecting the system from a conceptual level, for about 3.5 years ago. I met Tom really looking for the right partner for this particular startup. In the past, I've been a founder at Mesh Networks, which was ad hoc wireless networking. KickApp's a social media platform, a founder and CEO. Milcom, an incubator of military technologies into the commercial world. And Triton Network Systems, which was fixed wireless radio. So I have a diverse experience, but a lot of that informed what I'm doing today with the Flow, the real-time routing piece in particular from Mesh Networks. And here's Tom. He's really just a big data, real-time expert, U.S. Army intelligence, and a lot of other stuff in that vein, real smart at handling very big, scalable real-time systems. He and I got together. We've been writing code. Next slide. For about our team has been writing code for about 24 months with our heads down. Not a lot of press or publicity. Not a lot of talking about what we're doing. We really felt like we were building something that would take a larger investment of time. And we're a New York City technology company. We're founded in 2010 formally. A 9-person team, and big data, real time, NoSQL expertise on the team. Next slide. The Flow platform interface. The reason I show the interface is this is the platform side. I'll show some screenshots of the SaaS application, and essentially this view gives you a snapshot of what developers see when they are looking to develop on the Flow platform. Whether or not they're going to recreate our own SaaS application, whether or not they're going to create interoperability for their applications, or do stream processing, or real-time routing of information in the enterprise. This is the interface they'll see. And what's nice is there's a point-and-click interface. New developers can go into our sandbox and immediately generate code just by clicking on what they want to do. There's libraries in all the major languages. There's data importer, so you can map any data into the flow from any source, whether static data or real-time data, and extensive APIs to do everything, both REST and notably XMPP, in the sense that there's a real-time architecture here, both a persistence, a semi-structured database where the data can be queried, REST calls and so on in the traditional way, and then there's an XMPP, a messaging architecture that allows real-time functionality. Next slide. Okay, so the Flow platform itself, it's you might call it a platform as a service. Some people refer to it as that, and I like it myself. And it simplifies the development of real-time applications. The capabilities include stream processing. I'll talk about that in a moment. Data routing, real-time interoperability between mobile, web, and any enterprise application. So on the bottom, you can see in the image here, we have the Flow platform. And above it, we have solutions for enterprise, for media companies, and for consumers as well. These are applications that are built on top of the platform entirely by using the capabilities of the platform. And then the platform is then used by the developers within an organization to provide deeper levels of integration above and beyond what you can do with our SaaS application. Okay, next slide. Routing and stream processing. So this is a visual to give you a sense of how it all works. And starting from left to right, you can see that the shape there is a flow. A flow to us is just a stream of data. We call them flows. Below that is a track. A track is what connects one flow to another. So one real-time stream of information or content or data connects to another via track. And you can see track as kind of as a routing function, but it does more than that. So external data enters the initial flow. Let's say these are the initial flows of the first two that you see after the arrows through our API importer or via our APIs. Let's say an application is publishing to a flow. Once data is into the flow or into the first flow, it then routes or tracks, as we call it, from the first flow perhaps to three others, as I show here in that first picture, or maybe it tracks to one other or 100 others. But what's interesting about a track is the track not only routes a copy of each piece of content that enters flow A into a subsequent flow, but it also can transform that data or redact that data or normalize sets of data around a particular data structure. So, or join data from one flow to another. So a track not only creates a workflow or the routing of data for simple routing purposes, let's say within an enterprise, but it also can do work on that data. And one example you might say is the first a set of live data goes into flow A, but there's a field in there, let's say it's salary, and that the people who are allowed or permissioned to view flow B, they're not allowed to see the salary of every piece of content that went in flow A. So you might want to redact that and do that in an automated way using our stream processing, such that that track, every time it goes from flow A to flow B, will redact a particular field. It's one of any number of possibilities related to stream processing. And so we've made this all very simple. And you just basically create a workflow, much like you're seeing here, that defines what you want to do with your data, combining, aggregating, disaggregating, filtering, routing. And once you have it built, it's buildable in hours, not months. You can let it run, and it will work indefinitely until you change it or extend it. And this is all done once again in the cloud, no on-premise hardware or software required. Next slide is Flow for Enterprise, and this is real-time solutions. And you can see in our diagram here, I've highlighted Flow for Enterprise above the machine, the platform itself. And Flow for Enterprise is a solution that includes a SaaS aspect, meaning an application that regular people, non-technical people can use off the shelf, that allows, changes the way companies organize information, the way they collaborate, the way they route information throughout an organization. So it reinvents collaboration, we like to say, for the real-time world, which includes routing, permissioning. So a flow or a stream is created that only certain people can write to or read to or can change in some fashion. And the idea is to connect the right information with the right people in real time and do it all in a simple dashboard that makes it really easy to function. So this next slide shows our SaaS layer, which is Flow Enterprise SaaS, and below that the platform. And so you can see you might have lots of data integrating through our platform, public APIs, Twitter, who knows what. Partner APIs, people within your ecosystem integrating data into the flow. You might have internal data silos and enterprise applications, websites, mobile devices, all that are integrating with our platform. And above that, you can see a small image of our SaaS app. And that's how, the humans within your ecosystem actually communicate with the flow. They too can publish into the flow. They too can drag and drop between flows, collaborate around flows. And once again, a flow is just a stream of information that can be visualized in a way that is very intuitive to people who sort of have lived with social media. If I go to the next slide, you can get a little better view of the SaaS application. This lives at iFlow.com. It lives for enterprises as well with additional functionality and for media companies. And from left to right in this image here, you can see basically you have a set of collections, and then to the next pane over is our streams within that collection. And if I click on one of those streams, I can see the drops or the pieces of content within that stream. And to the right, I can see the content that lives within that particular drop. So it's very intuitive. It unfurls from left to right. You can hide any of these panes for a simple viewing. But the idea is I have at my fingertips not social streams like you might find with social enterprise products, but contextual streams, meaning real-time leads that are coming in from my corporate website that are being published into a flow from potential customers or existing customer support questions that will then in turn get routed not just to one stream, but perhaps to 5 different streams. So a piece of information from a customer support website might get routed to the fulfillment department if there's been a problem with shipping. If there's marketing material request, it might get routed to the marketing department. It certainly would get routed to the appropriate salesperson so he can know or she can know what's going on with that particular account. It might get marketed to the CFO if it's over a certain dollar amount. And so the idea of actually including real-time routing and intelligent routing on the information layer, kind of what companies like Cisco and others did on the transport layer, we're trying to do on the information layer with this very simple interface, simple but powerful. The next slide says making information consumable and actionable with effective curation. And I won't read through this slide, but basically it shows to us curation is one way to describe what we do. It's both automated, stream processing, routing. You might say it all falls under the umbrella of how do I actually make information consumable and actionable? How do I take the real-time world and begin to harness it and contextualize it such that it's not just a lot of noise? And the real-time world being not just social data, although that's included and important to what we do, but it's all that internal data that is generated by a company, all the applications that exist within an organization. How do I actually make sense of it all? And curation is one way of thinking of it as a word. First, you're creating contextual information streams. You're collecting that data into streams that make sense for that context. You're then ordering and prioritizing that data, and you're also routing that data using what we call tracks. And in the end, you're publishing that data. Some of it may live in a streaming dashboard interface like the one we provide off the shelf, or it might live in an Android device, or it might live on a corporate website. Media companies, for us, use this as a real-time CMS to replace kind of old school, more static content management systems. Here you have streams. I want to filter them, reorder them, drag and drop between them, and then publish it to the website all in real time in a very simple interface. And that's what we're able to accomplish. And that's the story here. Flow for media companies, a real-time CMS. And basically, we provide media and news organizations the ability to curate and remix content from any number of sources in a drag-and-drop interface using all the automated processes that we possess on the platform side and within the SaaS application, but also the manual things you can do to curate from different streams and really remix what's going on a website or a mobile application all in real time. And finally, for consumers, what we wanted to do, and you can see on our chart here, it's all the way on the right above the platform, all the SaaS applications are built using our platform. So there's no functional power coming from the application itself. It's all built on the platform. And what that means is that developers who are using our platform can recreate or reinvent what they see in our SaaS application to do things that are similar or to integrate these type of experiences into their own website. And so here for consumers, the reason while our DNA is not as a consumer company, the reason we built iFlow is we wanted people to understand what they can do. Let's say I wanted to aggregate 40 different RS streams and social streams, and I want to put it all into a stream that I follow, and then I want to filter it on, Bruce Springsteen or something, or the New York Yankees, or something relevant to gluten because I have a child who has a gluten issue, or who knows what. How do I begin to build the contextual streams that are my life? And the reason we wanted to show it in a consumer product is, one, to show what next generation information gathering is. It's not so much a replacement for social as it is you have sort of what your friends are saying, what people are saying, and you have all the information in your world organized by that. Well, now you also have a place where all the contextual information of your world, it might be a lot of aggregated RSS feeds filtered down to something you care about, or it might be a conversation going on in your kid's fifth grade classroom, all the moms and teachers talking about something and literally creating a stream together. And then I have a single dashboard to see all that information. But what's nice about this is it all teaches people, as they get used to seeing this and working with this as a consumer, they say, why can't I have this for the enterprise? Why can't I manage my streams? Why are we sending each other thousands of emails and sharing around documents when we really don't live in a document-oriented world anymore? And so to us, the consumer product is a way to show people what they can do in the enterprise. And we think that's where a lot of sort of the business trends are going. What's being used in the consumer world is suddenly exciting for the enterprise world because a lot of the innovation is happening there. So we wanted to be part of that by presenting a consumer product. The last two slides are sort of why Flow and Flow Vision. Why Flow, and really to sum it up, it's all about, there's a lot of capabilities there, and we've tried to make it very simple to use by both developers using flow.net and by consumers and enterprise customers using an iFlow.com interface. But it's really all about making information consumable and actionable, in a real-time world where there's just overloads of information. There's an ocean coming. How do I begin to contextualize that information and to make it manageable into tributaries, you might say, from the ocean of information that's available to us? And only then is it consumable. And so it's about accessing, integrating, processing, and routing. There's a lot of things that go into our product to make it work. But in the end, it's all about making information consumable. And finally, our vision. Because it's our application and our platform allows interoperability, meaning the sharing of real-time streams on a permission basis. Our vision is the Flow as kind of a hub of information sharing, of interoperability, where real-time data can drive, as we like to say here, an entirely new generation of mobile web and enterprise experiences. And the reason we think it's capable of doing that is the next innovations in mobile in particular are not necessarily going to be a better UI. Our belief is it's access to data. How do apps, in a sense, curate data from many sources so that a given application that you're looking at can give you more information that you're looking for? And single-purpose applications will be less common than applications that really can draw on the totality of your experience and what you're doing to say, I'm going to get you what you need and what you want. And as soon as applications can begin sharing data, I think that's a big deal. And when you look at what Facebook and other products have done over the last 5 years in connecting people and connecting applications, most recently socially, the next big idea we think is how do these applications at scale, dozens, hundreds, thousands of applications share real-time data, and that's a whole new wave of information. So there's an interoperability that doesn't just exist in the hardware, in the iPhone or Android device itself, accessing the context and the phone and the camera. It's how do applications outside of the device actually interoperate together to share data to create new experiences. And so that's kind of the vision for where we're going. And in the shorter term, we're really looking to solve enterprise and media problems and say, information management is a huge deal, especially real-time information. Here's a way that you can do that in much simpler, at a much lower cost than previous solutions, more traditional solutions. And that's it. Any other questions? Any place I can dig in for you?
Oh, sure. Eric, let's just go back to the concept of real-time, right? Because coming where I did from Cray, we had a real-time division, a real-time operating system, and it was all about guaranteed response time. Is that not so much what you guys are about versus data as it happens? I mean, can you make that distinction for us?
Yes. For us, it's about accessing and routing data in real time. And by real time, we define as milliseconds. So you might have a piece of content that comes in from a corporate website or from an Android device or a salesperson in the field. Or it could come in from a legacy system that you're trying to create some sort of normalization of data between some legacy systems. The moment something's published into a flow, it will route to other flows, to whoever is going to consume that data in the end, whether it's a filtered version of that set of data. All that happens within milliseconds. And so it's really truly about how do you capture the real-time world in real time, process and contextualize it in real time, and then use that data and make it actionable. The example I give often is quite often technologies like Hadoop are used to store large amounts of technology, and then in a batch process, that information is processed. I want the green ones or the blue ones, or sometimes things much more advanced than that. But basically, a lot of times it's very simple things that are being mined out of that data, but it's not happening in real time. So we believe there's a large percentage of store and process activities in the enterprise in particular, but also outside in political campaigns and so on, that can be done in real time with real-time processing and real-time routing. And so that's what I mean by real time, as opposed to how do you crunch numbers very fast, algorithmic processing, and so on. And I don't mean that type. I mean real time is how do I grab information from any source, however it's published into the system, using our APIs or manually publish using our SaaS application, or drag and drop, or RSS feeds coming in, and then how can it move to where it needs to go in real time such that it's usable and actionable.
So how would someone accomplish this before the advent of Flow, right? Would they just do a bunch of queries and go out and try to find this stuff as catch as catch can kind of thing, or how would it work?
It was an arduous, expensive process. So, for example, let's look at the use case of an enterprise trying to create interoperability between applications, whether they're cloud or legacy. It would be sort of a mapping of API to API, or writing APIs if they didn't exist, and trying to connect on a one-to-one basis these different data sources. And of course, the complexity is much greater when you have outside applications that are not all within the control of a single developer. So in terms of creating interoperability, that was a very manual internal process. Stream processing, very expensive solutions. There are companies out there, very important companies and good companies like IBM and Tibco, for example, that will do some real-time processing and routing of information with far more expensive and less extensible systems that are not cloud-based. And so there are and of course the finance industry has been doing it for years. Real-time stock information trading. Very expensive, very high-end solutions with which required very skilled hands to actually maintain and operate and extend, where it'd be tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to build solutions that you can accomplish for far less money, and we like to say hours and days instead of months and years for traditional solutions. But there's been ways to do real time, and there's been ways to create interoperability. And but no great way to do information routing within the enterprise. I don't know that there is an equivalent legacy system for that in the sense that what we're providing there. Certainly nothing that is off the shelf.
So with the Flow platform, Eric, you're trying to build, I would assume, an ecosystem, right? That people could easily write to your APIs. How does your business model work? Is it a license based, or how does that go?
So both our SaaS application and, of course, our platform, they are cloud services, and so they're available on demand. You can anyone can go to flow.net and sign up, and as a developer or an enterprise IT staff, begin experimenting and playing with the APIs and saying, all right, let's solve a problem. Let's see how fast we can do it. If you can do it in a few hours, we consider that to be a success. The fee structure is all on a monthly tiered basis. Anyone could begin using us for free. The minute you're looking for support, your volume goes up. We have sort of a tiered plan that makes it extremely affordable. Let's say orders of magnitude less than to do anything equivalent with previous technologies. And so you can get started on your own, and then, of course, there's different levels of support that you can get if necessary. Our goal has been to make the platform itself so intuitive, and the documentation and the sandbox so intuitive that a lot of people can do a lot of things without even getting in touch with us, and then signing up for basically a monthly plan that they might tier up as they use us for more things. And then on the SaaS side, similar per seat type model, monthly fees and tiers, trying to make all the expenses associated with this very predictable, with the goal of having a really powerful return on investment for enterprise customers in particular, using our SaaS application in conjunction with our platform. But it all can wrap into a very predictable monthly licensing fee.
So, kind of a wrap-up question here, Eric. You know, it seems like we're on the frontier of big data. A lot of analytics companies sprouting up, a market that's projected to grow to maybe 50 billion by 2015. Do you see your offering here as complementary to those kinds of things? Is it easy to bolt on to an analytics platform, or is this something that might replace that kind of path?
No, as a matter of fact, we see ourselves as sort of the opposite half of the the revolution you're describing, the data revolution. Part of it is, how do I gather huge amounts of data and then do processing on that data to make sense of it using algorithms that are both simple and complex. For us, the other half of the problem is how do I organize that information? How do I gather it? How do I filter it and contextualize it before I analyze it, so that the data sets are far more manageable once you want to actually create a sentiment analysis, for example. Let's say you want to analyze, a lot of different sources, including, hundreds of thousands of tweets per day. How do you actually contextualize all that and then run a more effective sentiment analysis using our APIs? So it's very easy for us to be the data collection and stream processing piece of what you do, and then application developers can write all sorts of algorithms to then make use of that data in interesting ways once they've used us to help harness all those sources and to organize it the way it needs to be organized. So we're very explicit. We're non-algorithmic in our approach, and so we think in that sense we work with all the analytic companies, particularly the large marketing agencies and so on, who don't necessarily want to use off-the-shelf sentiment analysis. They want to write it special for their client, but they have no way of managing all that data to even write an effective algorithm, and that's where we shine. And the other piece is real-time. So if you look at what big data and the data revolution really is, there's two pieces to it. One is lots of it, tons and tons of data sources and petabytes of data. And the other half of it is, how do we do things in real time, in the real-time world? How do we actually effectively create actionable information in the real-time world? And that's a very different problem than what I think a lot of, perhaps the lion's share of companies have gone at. Really not focused on real-time. That's what's coming right now. What it's been is, how do I simply manage, tons of information and process it algorithmically and do things like MapReduce and other things to manage big sets of data that are sitting in a database. And for us, it's data in motion, and that's really the future. And I think that's the new frontier that people will begin talking about over the next few months.
That's very exciting, Eric. So if our listeners have their ears perked up, how do they engage?
Go to flow.net if you're a developer and check out the platform. There's lots of documentation there. We'll have a bunch of videos up there soon, so you can walk through every aspect of the developer environment. But for now, the documentation is very clear. You can just sign up and go. And if you're a business person who says, I have to get a hold of the information and start managing it better in my organization and create some sort of workflow, go to iFlow.com, sign up. It's free, and just start playing with the application and begin creating some streams, dragging and dropping between streams, importing data, curating from your social streams, and get a sense of what this might do for your enterprise. And contact us. There's plenty of ways from the websites to contact us, and we'll help you get started solving your real-time big data problems.
Well, terrific. Well, Eric Alterman, I want to thank you once again for coming on the show today.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on the world of cloud computing. Cool, let me hit the stop button here.